shortly at the fixtures coming up next. But first, let's see how things stand at the top of the Premier League table. Heading into this international break, Liverpool currently on 18 points. It's very congested with 4 other teams: Spurs, Villa, Manchester United and Bournemouth there. Arsenal, of course, 8 points clear, but let's try and be positive, Mo, if we can, because when Liverpool were 8 points clear, which was the case at the end of last November, none of us were sitting here saying the league was won, but any more slip-ups and it becomes close to an impossible task.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you can look at that and say a win in the right conditions will take Liverpool back into third, and suddenly everything looks a lot brighter.
Yeah.
So 8 points over the course of 27 games isn't insurmountable, but at the moment it's coupled with the fact that it's hard to see Liverpool not losing more games, and it's harder to see Arsenal dropping more points as well. So it feels like a difficult task at the moment, but as we all know, football can change so quickly. You could get to December and suddenly the picture looks very different.
I think that was the other thing that made the result against City difficult. Not just the result, but the fact that Arsenal dropped points, and as Mo says, that won't happen an awful lot, so you have to cash in on that opportunity when it presents itself.
I think the last time I was on, there was a lot to talk about. I think it was just not so long after Liverpool had beaten Arsenal, actually, and there was a lot of talk there, and I was kind of thinking the way Arsenal play and the way they go about the game, you know, and obviously it's been the discussion of the season, isn't it, about the kind of direct football and set piece and long pieces and long throws and all that. And Arsenal are a very functional, methodical team and very, very good at it, which makes them very hard to beat. But I don't think the game at Sunderland necessarily will be an anomaly. I think if it gets close second half of the season, you know, if they've got City breathing down the neck and, you know, you're going to be ultra positive, Liverpool somehow get their act together, I think there'll be a lot of nerves at Arsenal because of what's at stake. Because you see that at Liverpool when they were trying to get those first time, when they're going head to head with City those years, you know, the tension can take over, especially if you're a team that doesn't necessarily blow sides away because you're waiting for that corner and you know. So that will be a factor for Arsenal to deal with later in the season. I don't know whether it's going to be one of those seasons where the team wins the league, gets 90 points particularly. But it's up to the others to put the pressure on them. You know, if Liverpool are going to lose another 4 games in the next 11 matches, it's not even part of the conversation, is it? So
that is not the case.
And I don't think any game Liverpool look at the moment, you can just say, oh, look at the fixture. I mean, West Ham away, and the other way after the game is Leeds away. So yeah, if Liverpool work harder, or at least as hard or harder, and Leeds United, Liverpool win those games. But there's a big but on that at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels like it.
So I don't think anything should be taken for granted.
What really stands out as well, Guy, when you look at the table, not just the points, but when you look at the goals conceded, goals against, it's 17 for Liverpool. You compare that to Arsenal's 5, 2 of which, of course, came this weekend at Sunderland. I mean, it's very clear what is one of the first things that Arne Slot needs to address.
Well, that's it. And he said that during the run of successive defeats, when he said, you know, the big problem we've got now is we're conceding too many crosses from open play, and it came home to roost again on Sunday, didn't it? But the point still remains that there are 27 Premier League games left to go. An 8-point gap has been overhauled with about 6 or 7 left to go in past. Not often, obviously, but it has happened. And, you know, I've seen games, even on Sunday at 3-0, you're reluctant as a commentator to say, well, that's it, that seals it absolutely definitively, because we've seen so many games where that's not the case. So even in a game, it can change very quickly. Over a month, over a week, it can change quickly. So I don't know. I think we're over-egging it a little bit at the moment. Slot is right. Guardiola's right with what he said. He said it before the game at the weekend. You don't call it until you're halfway through. You don't even start to call it until you're halfway through. And even then, a lot of things can change. So it's a case of they will roll the sleeves up and they'll try and work hard and improve defensively, particularly, and improve performances. And if they do that, as Chris has quite rightly said, if they then work harder than Leeds, if they work harder than West Ham, then they'll quite probably get a result. It's a good job they've got Sunderland at home, because they'll have to work hard against that lot.
But guys, right, isn't it? This is the way we live at the moment. It's like, you know, you fit the first few weeks the team loses. Is it a crisis? Is it a crisis?
There's a lot of noise.
Okay, it's a crisis. It's a crisis. It's a crisis. You know, are they out the title race? Are they out? You know, somebody eventually will say yes, they're out, and it's just words. It doesn't mean anything. You know, nobody's out the title race at the moment. Especially if you've got a team that's got a capacity to win 9 out of 10 games. just need to see a few performances, don't
Yeah.
they? And everyone will be a bit more trustworthy and encouraged again.
It is just what we do, though. It's
Yeah,
inevitably.
we're all to blame. Can't deny
you do
that,
look
you
back
know.
at the table last season as well, and
Yeah.
when you're looking at the stats, I mean, conceded 6 goals at this point last season and 28 points, albeit, as Arne Slot did point out before we took the break in that interview, that they've played tougher opposition at this point now, played 7 teams in the top 10. Does that come into it at all? Because obviously over the course of the season you play everybody.
A little bit. So obviously we don't know what position those teams are going to be in later on in the season when we play them. So the teams who are currently in the bottom, who we haven't played yet, by the time we get to play them, they might be higher in the table again. So
exactly.
It does matter at what point in the season you play teams. I think that is a big thing. But also I do think Slot's right to say that once everyone's played everyone, you get a clearer indication. And in fairness to him, he was saying this exact same thing last season when Liverpool were at the top of the league, and everyone was saying, well, you haven't played anyone yet. So I think it is fair to kind of really to put a harder judgment, a harder assessment in at that point. But to get to that point, as the guys have alluded to, Liverpool need to find the way to start winning game after game after game at home and away from home.
Yeah, well, let's get into the away form, because you touched on it earlier on, but losing your last 4 Premier League away games, albeit when you look at, they're difficult places to go, certainly at the moment, Palace, Chelsea, Brentford, Manchester City, but on the flip side again, if you're going to win the title, you've got to go to places like that and get a result, and they did do that last season.
And the worry is that all the games have followed a very familiar pattern, where the first half's more often not been awful, and then there's been a reaction, but the damage is already done, and you're almost giving the team a head start. And it just feels as though other teams, what's in every Premier League game, there's a home advantage. We saw it in COVID more than anything, the anomaly in results when there's no fans. It's tough to win a game away from home. You've got to be at it. And I've covered, I don't know how many games I've covered now in 28 years covering Liverpool. And, what was so good really since 2015 was that, sorry, I'm repeating myself a little bit, you could go anywhere and see Liverpool lose, obviously, but you could trust that they weren't going to be outworked. They were not, I'm not talking about individual, because I think we can pick individual players and really give, someone like Dominic Szoboszlai, his running stats must be off the scale. I mean, you couldn't accuse him of lacking application. But there are other players who people can make their own mind who we're talking about, who do not seem to be applying themselves the same way at home as they do in front of a full crowd, where everyone's on you, and that's what separates the top level elite players from others, because every Premier League team has problems away from Newcastle, having terrible problems, so they're having a similar thing, and the elite teams do not have such a differential between home and away, and at the moment Liverpool have got too much of a differential.
I think this is the crazy thing about what you're saying about the trend from away from home in general in the Premier League. I think there's only 3 teams that have actually won more games away from home than Liverpool, but there's only 4 teams that have lost more away from home than Liverpool. I think Liverpool aren't drawing any games at all, and it means that the games they are winning is a lot harder to do, but the games they are losing, it's also a lot harder. And there's lots of those games that are fine margins. I think City was only the second game this season that's been decided by more than 1 goal. So
I mean, you could go to City and work harder than City and still lose because they're so good. But Liverpool didn't work harder than Man City, did they?
and the other thing about the working hard thing, something I've noticed quite a lot this season is that when you trust the game plan, when you trust your teammates, everyone knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing, it's easier for you to run like hell and bust the gut to here, there and everywhere. When you're unsure, so to take an example, when Conor Bradley isn't sure whether he's meant to be pressing Doku or Nico O'Reilly, he's going to stand off a little bit. He's not going to necessarily go. So that indecision can start to breed some of this kind of standoff, this passiveness you see in the team. And once they all believe in what they're supposed to be doing and they all understand what everyone else is supposed to be doing.
So it's synchronised.
Yeah, I think you'll start to see a little bit of that more. I mean, speaking of Szoboszlai, there were lots of times on Sunday where he was pressing and then he's turned around and he's like, where is everybody? And he was kind of calling people along. So I think there is still a little bit of indecisiveness about this Liverpool team. And once that's solved, then we start to see some of that energy and intensity come back.
Well, let's have a look at how the land lies when we do come back from this current international break. Guy, looking at these fixtures, I mean, dare I say it, in normal circumstances at least, there's a fair few games there you would expect Liverpool to win. start of the season, you're looking at some of those fixtures and thinking we're picking up a good deal of points there. But natural trepidation creeps in, doesn't it, when things are not going too well?
Well, something Mo said a few moments ago is relevant about how the landscape changes for some of those teams. Forest have already changed, so it's Sean Dyche bringing his Forest to Liverpool. Goodness knows what that will bring. West Ham have changed, so Nuno, West Ham. Sunderland don't have to change. They're doing all right. Leeds might have changed by then. There's a little bit of noise about Daniel Farke right now. Brighton at home has caused problems in the past. There's a guaranteed 3 points just going into Christmas, because for all Liverpool away, that's Spurs at home. So that's a real curate's egg of a game. That will tell us a lot, actually, to be honest. So yeah, just like we were saying about the 27 Premier League games to go and is 8 points too much, you can't call anything. And I don't think you can really look at those fixtures and go, oh yeah, there's X amount of points to come from those, because there's Wolves as well. Throw them into the mix, because they have got a new manager incoming. So they've all got particular difficulties. They've all got real particular difficulties. And as for the Champions League, well, I think they'll beat PSV. I'm putting my money on that one.
Yeah, what you can't see on there as well, actually, is obviously early January they face Arsenal, which, going into that game, you need to be hoping the title is still alive at that point. Of course, you need to be going in there in the right shape to at least try and get a good result down there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'd hope that by then some of the problems, some of the issues that we've been talking about will have started to be ironed out. And obviously, dare I say it, it's January, so transfer window is also open by then, so maybe some of those problems might have been fixed in other ways.
I mean, only once in the last 11 years has a side lost more than 5 and won the Premier League title. That was Man City back in 2021-22. So however many points are needed, and as you said before, the landscape of that maybe has changed a little bit, but what is needed is a consistent run.
Yeah, you just want to start seeing them play well. You want to see them feel as though they played well, and obviously, it's easy to say then if they lose, you'll probably still be annoyed. But I think if you can come away from a game, they've played well there. You can see. And I think, we were saying that after the Villa and Madrid games, what was encouraging, it looked like Liverpool again. But then, the acid test comes and they fail it. And it is literally, you look at that run of games and, they should be winning a lot of those games if they are the Liverpool that they should be or they can be. But there are other factors. We said it is probably a season that may be looked upon in the longer term. Nobody ever wants to think longer term. It is a bit of a transitional thing. Yep. I don't think anybody thought it was going to be quite as tricky at the start, but it is. And people don't like to hear that. And time will tell if it's a successful transition or not. I mean, certainly like to see a few more evidence of some players delivering, but it could be just one of those transitional years. And this time next year, it's all clicked into gear again.
That's what we want. Right, one more